Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be 7 baby names that I love but we aren't going to be using. My husband and I have decided that 4 kids is where we're going to end. It's a little bit sad. We're definitely at peace with the decision. 5 kids is quite a bit, especially if you consider that we travel so much to go back and see family. This was a little bit bittersweet to be filming. It's kind of fun remembering all of the names. Well, there actually aren't too many, but the names that have stuck with me through the years that we were considering with each of our kids. It's kind of fun to visit all the favorite ones that I enjoyed, but it's a little bit sad to be saying goodbye to these names. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be going back and forth between the girl names and the boy names. There are actually 4 girl names and only 3 boy names. Boy names have always been a lot more difficult for me and my husband, me specifically. I'm a little more picky when it comes to boy names, so I only have 3 of those. The first girl name that was always a favorite of mine, but I could just never quite pull the trigger on using it, is Sabrina. And I've always just loved the sound of that name. I think it's a really pretty name. I knew about the show, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but I didn't grow up watching it. I just saw like an episode here or there. So it's not a real strong, memory that pops into my head when I think about that name. Like I think it does for some people. My husband, for sure, he was like, that's a show. I don't know if we could ever use that name. And he wasn't ever crazy about it. But I do really, really love the name Sabrina. So that was one that followed us through the years, me always considering every time we had a new pregnancy and I was trying to narrow down some name choices. The first little boy name that has stuck with me through the years that I've always gone back to is Bennett. My husband was never really that crazy about this name. I kind of like it because it's very similar to Benjamin, and you can shorten it to Ben, which I like both of those names a lot. Benjamin is just really, really popular, and I always wanted to avoid super popular names whenever we were thinking about names for our kids. So I wasn't going to go with Benjamin, and I liked that Bennett was similar to it, but still pretty unique. You don't hear it too much. It has gotten more popular over the years, but you don't hear it too much. And it's just very strong and formal sounding, but, not like one of the traditional ones like James or Michael or John, that just those withstood the test of time for sure. The second girl name is Elena. This one I really considered pretty hard during this last pregnancy before we had baby number 4 when I found out it was a girl. Elena was definitely up there and I was considering it quite a bit. I don't think that my husband ever fell in love with it, and I don't think I ever would have pulled the trigger on it because it's pretty similar to one of my niece's names. Her name is Mylena. So Elena and Mylena are very, very similar. And I actually told my older sister about it, and she was like, oh my goodness, she'd be tickled if she had a cousin that had a name that was so similar to her. And I know she'd be super sweet about it, but it'd be a little bit confusing in the family to have 2 names that are that similar. And then, shortening it, whenever I thought of Elena, probably because of my niece, I always thought about Lainey or Lane, and that is my niece's nickname, Lainey. So I just didn't think it was ever going to go. So I always really liked the name Elena, but I don't think we were ever going to use it. So the next boy name is Liam, and Liam we just couldn't pull the trigger on because it was always just too popular. It was always my husband's very top choice when we were pregnant with both of our boys. We came really close when Warren was just about born. It was down to either Warren or Liam, and we couldn't make the choice. I had thought about it when we were pregnant with Dane, and I couldn't do it back then because it was just too popular, and it was still pretty popular when we were pregnant with Warren, but we loved it so much. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can, if we can let go of it, we'll see. So we decided to wait until Warren was born, and we'll just take a look at him and see which name fits him better. And when he was born, we decided that, yeah, he's a Warren. So we didn't go with Liam, and that was our main concern, was just how popular it is. But I love the sound of that name. My last name is Williams, and Liam is a play on the name William, so, it always had some cool connections there, but it was just way too popular. I didn't want a kid with an uber popular name at the time. So the next girl name, and this was one that we considered right from the get-go when we were pregnant with Nora, and we kept going back to it throughout the years, was Eliza. Nathan really likes that name. I really like the sound of that name. But I could just never pull the trigger on it because I was worried about whatever nicknames you might make out of it. We already have a niece named Ellie. You've seen her a little bit in my last 2 videos that I did. So we couldn't have used Ellie or Elle. And really the only other nickname that you go to when you think of Eliza is Eliza. And I don't care for that really at all. So it would have been difficult just having to manage to make sure that people only called her Eliza. And then this last time with this last pregnancy, when I was pregnant with Avalie, that name for some reason just skyrocketed for me right to the top. I loved that name when I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I keep going back to that name. When we saw her ultrasound to figure out what her gender was, right when the technician said, it's a little sister, the name Avalie came to mind right when she said that. So we sort of took that as a sign that, okay, Eliza's just not going to be the one. But that was one that stuck with us for years, and I do still really like that name a lot. The final boy name, if Avalie had been a boy, she would have been named Rhett, and we would have done Rhett Jefferson. We did not think about that name until after both of our older boys were born, but it grew on us over, because there's about 3 years between Avalie and Warren. So in those 3 years, or about 2.5 years, I would say, because we didn't think about it until after he was, you know, a little bit older. But it really grew on us, and we really grew to like that combination of the first name and the middle name. So if she had been born a boy, she would have been Rhett. Yeah, we just really like how strong it sounds, and the single syllable with our last name. It's kind of like Dane. We really like how his name sounds, Dane Walker Sandefur. So we would have gone with that. The final girl's name is a favorite for me. It was never a favorite for my husband. It's pretty unique, which is why I saved it for the end, because you guys are going to have to kind of stick with me on this one. I think it would be adorable as a little girl name. I don't know, which is why I didn't fight for it more. I don't know that it would work as like an older lady's name, you know, growing up and then you're a full-grown adult, because it's not really a traditional, well, it's definitely not a traditional first name at all. Actually, I don't think I've ever heard it as a first name. But anyway, so the name is Pevensey. And that, if you're a Narnia fan, that's where it came from. I grew up reading the Narnia books, the Chronicles of Narnia, you know, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that series by C.S. Lewis. My mom used to read it to us growing up, and then when I got older, I would read them. And of course, they did a great job with the movies that are out now, but then there was also an older series done by, I think, BBC. And, I mean, it's a pretty low-budget operation, but, you know, they were decent, and we grew up watching those. So Narnia, it has a huge part of my heart for sure. And I really love the characters. I really love the stories. I really love him as an author. He's done a lot of other really great books. And I thought about the names of the girls. I had Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. And I did think about the girls' names. I kind of like that our kids' names aren't super common. You know, they've all got, you know, a little bit of uniqueness to them. So I was like, well, you know, is there any way else that I could, you know, incorporate a name from that series? And for some reason, their last name popped into my head. Their family name is Pevensey. So like Susan Pevensey, Lucy Pevensey, and I was like, oh my goodness, Pevensey, that would be such a cute little girl's name. And I totally fell for it. I still really love it, but my husband, he wasn't going to go for it. So there was no chance that we were ever going to use that. But I still really, really like that name. I think it would be the cutest little girl's name, but it's not going to be in our family. So there you have it, guys. Those are my top 7 baby names that are still left over after having our 4 kids that we won't be using. I just wanted to share these with you guys. It's kind of a fun little send-off to these names. The fact that we're done having kids, we know we aren't going to be using them. It's a little bit bittersweet, but it's also a fun way to kind of say farewell to all of my favorite little names. Let me know in the comments if you have a video where you share your favorite baby names. I love hearing baby names, especially like the first and middle combination, and if there's any special meaning to them. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're new, and like the video if you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys are enjoying seeing from me. If you're already a subscriber, I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you guys with the next video.